Hello and welcome to stage 6 of the Tour of Britain. It's part 2 of our journey through the southwest of the country. Today the race goes from Taunton to Wells through Cheddar Gorge. Now there's a chance the whole peloton might be ripped to shreds. But if that doesn't happen, who would bet against seeing another HTC High Road 1-2? Exeter saw them off yesterday on stage 5. Another day for Lars Bourne to keep his eye on Geraint Thomas. And Russell Hampton too, riding to defend his polka dot jersey. Dan Lloyd made the first little move of the day, sneaking 3 bonus seconds at the first sprint. But then it was Rafa Condor Sharp's John Tiernan Locke who went on the rampage, sweeping up all of the mountain points available to seize control of the King of the Mountains. It all came together though, as these things do, and HTC High Road got it together on the road into Exmouth.
And here it comes, Renshaw takes it on the line, Cavendish second, and they both give the victory salute.
Not much change in the general classification then. Lars Bourne still leads the way by 12 seconds to Geraint Thomas. The big mover on the day, Dan Lloyd, moving up to 4th place, just 16 seconds off the race lead. Well, in the aftermath of that emphatic win in Exmouth by Mark Renshaw, he made no bones about the fact that he was sending out a very clear message that he was not happy at having been overlooked by the Australian national selectors for the World Championships. Janto Barkert, can you understand his frustration?
Yeah, I can. He's done a fantastic job leading out Mark Cavendish for the last few seasons, and I think he has been overlooked because he's still a very talented sprinter. Next
year, when we see them racing directly against each other, Mark Renshaw for Rabobank and Mark Cavendish for wherever he's going to end up, do you think we'll see a real competition between those two? In other words, is a lead-out man's skill set comparable to a pure sprinters like Mark Cavendish's?
I'm not going to say he's going to take over from where Mark Cavendish is at the moment, but I do think he can transfer those skills over. At the end of the day, he's leading out his sprints 100 and 150 metres early, and he's still getting second on some of the most prestigious stages like the Champs-Élysées, for instance. He certainly can do very well next year for himself.
That will be a fascinating contest to watch. Either way, though, it is, sadly, the end of the road for HTC High Road. 2 men have defined this era in cycling history better than any other, Mark Renshaw and Mark Cavendish. Inseparable, inscrutable behind those shades, and most of the time, unbeatable. The sad and slightly baffling truth is, though, that HTC High Road have failed to find a sponsor for next year, meaning all their riders, including the 2 Marks, will go their separate ways. Cycling fans are going to really miss the sight of what you guys have done. When you reflect on your partnership and everything that he's done for you, which memories stand out particularly?
Champs-Élysées 2009, best lead out there, and we got first and second there,
The 1-2 on the Champs-Élysées in 2009 was, it was one of the best team victories. We had such a successful Tour de France. I think personally, for me, the Tour of Qatar victory was one of my best within the team.
First time we ever raced together was the Tour of California in 2009. The first stage we did together didn't really go that well. We spoke about it, and the next stage worked perfect, and since then it's just really been a dream combination. So
it's become so intuitive, hasn't it? How much talking goes on out there between you two, or is it beyond talking now? You simply know what you're doing?
I think we ever spoke. It just clicked. It was just one of those things. He had trust in me. I knew what to do, and then from there it just went on.
Next year, sprinting against him, how's that going to feel?
Yeah, it'll be different. That's a decision I've taken. I'm at a point in my career, I'm not getting any younger. I've been pro 8 years, and I think now's the time to step up and try and win some more races. And obviously, if I followed Cavendish, I wouldn't have the opportunity to do that because, I commit 100% to him. So I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be different, and I think next year we'll see the sprints a lot more open and maybe a lot more different winners.
What's he going to be like as a sprinter, in his own right?
He's going to have to be happy with second place, isn't he?
It's a stage of 2 halves, as they say, with the first half mainly flat as the race makes its way across the Somerset levels, punctuated only by a couple of short climbs. After reaching Cheddar and the edge of the Mendip Hills, the stage then changes its complexion with 2 Cat 1 mountain climbs taking the race into Wells. Stage 6 of the Tour of Britain begins on East Reach in the centre of Taunton before it heads out into the Somerset countryside on the first big climb of the day. The next high point is Cheddar Gorge, which is likely to see some of the biggest crowds anywhere on this year's tour, and should also help define who raises their arms for victory in Wells. OK, that's what the roads look like from Taunton to Wells. Let's get the race on and join your commentators Hugh Porter and Brian Smith.
3, 2, 1, go! Riders rolling out of Taunton here on the start of stage 6, 90.8 miles ahead of them, and it's the final day of the big climbs. The world champion on the right of our screen, Tour Renshaw. In the blue is Geraint Thomas, and there is the king of the mountains, Jonathan Tiernan-Lock, and alongside him is Lars Boom, the Dutchman, who is of course the overall leader of the Tour of Britain. Well, along the cobbled section here in front of a massive crowd, the weather once again is superb for racing, but it is going to be a tough day, and look out for this fellow when we get to the big climbs.
Well, it is a fast start. We have a third category climb not far after the start, and it's pretty flat all the way to Cheddar Gorge. Just starting at the back was 94, and that was Daniel Lloyd, and he's been quiet, but he's up there in overall at the moment.
Well, Lars Boom has got an advantage of 12 seconds over Geraint Thomas, and in third place at 14 seconds is Boy Van Poppel. But there's a lot to play for today.
Yeah, well, the attacking has started in earnest, and because of the flatter part of the first part of this stage, we're getting attack after attack. We started the third category climb at the moment, and it's the green jersey of Gilbert on the front.
Pieter Gilbert trying to get off the front here, the leader in the Yodel Sprints competition. He's got a massive lead actually of 20 points, but he's still keen to get on with it, and he's taken away with him riders from the Sky team.
Well, we do see the King of the Mountains jersey in there, John Tiernan-Lock in that score, the King of the Mountains white jersey, so he will be expected to feature as we get further up towards this sprint.
Well, the first climb actually comes after just 6.8 miles. It's only a third category affair, so it just ramps up gently. But look out for the chief players in that competition, and already it's beginning to fragment a little bit at the front of the peloton.
Well, it's Top Sport Flandern leading the way with Dan Craven, Rafa Condor-Sharp in second place, but the white jersey of John Tiernan-Lock is up there trying to defend that lead.
And of course, Lock's got teammates that are looking after his interests. Right on the front, Lock sitting right in the wheel of his teammate, and right behind him is his chief animator, and that is the man that led the King of the Mountains before, Russell Hampton of Sigma Sport.
Well, this is a two-way battle at the moment, Tiernan-Lock for Rafa Condor-Sharp, and from Sigma Sport we've got Russell Hampton. It's going to be a fast finish when we get to the top.
Well, it's good to see that Russell Hampton hasn't given up. He's still prepared then to challenge Tiernan-Lock for the overall lead. He's got to make up some ground if he wants to pressurise the current leader, and he really is growing in confidence, Lock. He looked across to see who was going to challenge him.
Well, we're just about to get into the sprint as we see the white jersey just unleashing it at the moment as we come over to the sprint line at the moment.
So 4 points then, waiting for Lock here on the line. Look at that, he just looks back as much as to say, well, come on, are you going to challenge me? He picks up the 4 points. Russell Hampton second for 3, so that means that Lock has now gained another point, so his lead has increased to 11 points now over Hampton. There are the rest of the positions. Dowsett coming over then for third, and Postuma picking up the 1 point for fourth.
We're over the top of this first climb, and these attacks are coming thick and fast. The green jersey of Gilbert on the right hand side, followed by the Irish champion of Matt Brammer. Just behind him, a big threat to the overall was Ian Bibby for Moulton Point.
Yeah, Ian Bibby is riding very, very well indeed, and he'll be able to try and improve on his overall position. He's lined 7th at 19 seconds, and on this kind of terrain today, he could actually excel. Now look at Gilbert there, the third man in line. I tell you what, he's figured in nearly every sprint since the start for this Yodel Sprints competition.
Well, this An Post Grant Thornton team is really motivated here in the Tour of Britain, and extra motivated today because Sean Kelly is in the team car.
Now let's not forget, on the line, apart from points, there are time bonuses to be gained. 3 seconds to the first, 2 to second and 1 to third. Now then, if Bibby could snatch first here and get the 3 seconds, he's going to lift himself up the overall standings.
Well, that's what it's all about at the moment, these precious seconds, and that's why Team Sky really have to get in the mix and try and gain a few seconds today. We're inside 1 kilometre of the first sprint.
And what's happening here is that they are not working consistently, and at the head of the field they're beginning to ramp up the pace, and they're pulling the 2 back.
Well, Gilbert still ploughing away at the front. Ian Bibby comes to the front. He's looking back, and it's Leopard Trek heading the front of the peloton, trying to shut these things up and down. Everybody looking behind. And just look at the blue jersey of Geraint Thomas. He surely has to pick up some seconds today.
And also, right alongside Geraint Thomas, you can see coming through there is the overall race leader wearing that IG Gold Markets jersey, Lars Boom. Over the bridge then and getting near to the sprint.
Well, it won't be long until these guys will be flat out in the town centre, and it's Gilles that leads it out.
Look at this then. Oh, what a crash there! My goodness me! Bibby and Geraint Thomas collided, and that's left Lars Boom at the front. Right, Thomas has missed out there. Boom has gained 3 seconds, and that has put him further ahead in the overall standings. But that was a heavy fall. Bibby and Thomas going down. Well, I hope they haven't broken anything, but the way they hit the deck, my goodness me, Brian.
Well, that was unbelievable, and I didn't really expect that. Did you see the riders going through the finish of the sprint there, just telling everybody settle down, let everybody get back, see what the damage is, and no racing from now on.
Well, there's the result for you. Boom got it from Gilbert, Heyman coming in, and in 4th spot, well, that was Bernard Eisel. But the race leader is sitting up there waiting for the rest. Geraint Thomas is getting attention. He looks, well, look at this here. Ian Bibby is in real trouble, and he's favouring, look, that shoulder, which means I think he may have either cracked his shoulder or broken his collarbone. Here's another chance to look at it.
Well, Geraint Thomas just looks for the gap there. He gets squeezed out here. That just goes to show you everything's on the line for these precious seconds, and down they come, bang. Bibby's bike goes up into the air, and it doesn't really look good for him at the moment.
And of course that left Lars Boom clear, and he gets the 3 seconds. The Sky teammate of Thomas, Heyman, gesticulating as much as to say, well, we set it up and we've missed out. But for Ian Bibby, he looks in a lot of pain here, and that may well be the end of the race. They're all back together. We'll be back.
Welcome back. After the carnage on the approach to the first intermediate sprint of the day, a group of 4 riders got nearly a minute up the road. Ben Swift, Paul Foss, Mark McAnally and Lars Bak working together through the second sprint at Cheddar. That also marked the beginning of the first big climb of the day into Cheddar Gorge.
And this climb is approximately 3 miles long. Beautiful scenery and a very, very famous ascent in bike racing.
Well, at the front here in the green, you've got the English rider McNally from Anpost and Taunton, and he's leading away at the bottom of this climb, and leading the front of the peloton at the moment is Rabobank, and they really don't want to give anybody from Team Sky anything at all in this stage, because they know they're going to be under attack when we get to the final climb in Wells. So for me, they're chasing this group to keep it under control.
And the highest placed rider overall in the group here is Lars Bak of Denmark, member of the HTC High Road squad. He's 2 minutes and 46 seconds back. So whilst they're enjoying their escape, as you said, Rabobank are not going to allow them to go too far away. But just look at that. What a sensational view. And it's a perfect climb for the crowds to come out on. But here they are, lined out once again on the front of the peloton, the squad of Rabobank. They are such a professional drilled outfit.
Well, they're just riding tempo at the moment. You can just see the white jersey of the Skoda King of the Mountains at the moment. Further up the climb, we get Ben Swift just struggling a wee bit to the back as the German rider from the Scottish-based outfit Enduro Racing pushing hard in the front.
Yeah, Ben Swift, well, he looks as though he's starting to suffer a little bit here. Ben Swift actually is one of 2 British riders to have won the King of the Mountains title in the history of the Tour of Britain. But he's had a heavy season, and maybe he's carrying some fatigue in those legs. But it weaves its way all the way here to the summit as we're getting other riders now trying to get off the front.
You've got Europcar here with Chartreux, and Chartreux won the King of the Mountains in the Tour de France last year. And by the looks of things, this Cheddar Gorge, we could be in the Alps today.
So Anthony Chartreux, former King of the Mountains. Hello, we've got them out again. Is it a friend of yours, that Brian?
I don't know, he's a wee bit old, maybe a wee bit like yourself, but there you go, we're back into this race, and you know, these scenes we're getting at the moment are absolutely fantastic. The crowds are out, the atmosphere's up, but these guys have got a job to do. They need to keep on pushing on. The gap is coming down to about 35 seconds back to that chasing rider from Europcar.
Well, there they are, continuing then as we look back. 3 chasers. Now, this is quite interesting. These 3, Chartreux, Dan Craven of the Rafa team, and Vestra of Vacances Soleil. They're trying to bridge, and the first man they will pick up is Ben Swift.
Well, Dan Craven for Rafa Condershot lives locally, knows these climbs like the back of his hand. He's a big danger because he's only 48 seconds off the overall lead of Boom.
So this is going to make the Rabobank team put the pressure on even more, because they don't want riders slipping down the road that are within touching distance of that overall lead.
And Wester's just starting to struggle off the back for Vacon Soleil, and Dan Craven putting a wee bit of pressure on here. Chartreux grimacing at the moment. Got to remember, he's a specialist hill climber, and Dan Craven from Namibia and the Rafa Condor Sharp colours is really giving it some.
Now let's not forget that Craven is in the same team as the overall leader of the King of the Mountains, Jonathan Tiernan Locke, as we get back once again to the leaders.
Well, it's Lars back at the front for HTC High Road. He's 2 minutes and 46 seconds off the overall lead, so the best place in these threesome at the moment. And their job now is just to keep the pressure on. They don't really want the Rafa Condor Sharp rider of Dan Craven coming across, because it will mean that Rabobank will have to chase them very, very hard.
Well, the three chasers are down to two now, so can they bridge up to Swift, who's just ahead of them? And there's news coming through that Ian Bibby, who crashed in that Yodel sprint at Langport, has been taken to hospital with a suspected broken collarbone, and that's a great shame, because Bibby has been riding superbly in this Tour of Britain.
No, for sure, it's you don't want to hear that, somebody crashing out the national tour, especially when you're up there in overall. The update on Geraint Thomas is also he's back on his bike, he's back on in the bunch at the moment, but just battered and bruised.
So Geraint Thomas, a man who's trying to hang on to that second place overall, he's making hard work of it, bouncing on the road, but he's a gutsy, tough bike rider, so he won't give in, take it from me. This is Chartreux at the front of the chasing duo.
Well, Ben Swift has actually made it back to the three in front, so we've now got the full complement of four riders at 38 seconds.
So Swift with a gutsy performance here, this professional who hails from Rotherham. He's also got a stage victory under his belt in the history of the Tour of Britain when he outpaced the field to the finish in Yeovil. But these two that we just saw then are really making a fist of this, and they're trying to get up to the leaders.
Well, I don't know if you know Cheddar, Gorge, Hugh, but very steep at the bottom, but as we get over the top in these parts of the climb, it starts to kind of drag, a lot of false flat, and it isn't as steep as we have seen already.
Well, I don't know if I should admit this, Brian, but knowing Cheddar Gorge, I've actually raced up Cheddar Gorge in my career, so it's been there for a long time in the pro scene.
Well, the last time the Tour of Britain raced up here was way back in 1999, when it was actually the Prudential Tour of Britain. So these four riders still ploughing away at the front. Lars back at the front.
Working consistently, aren't they? Keeping the pace high. It's one of those climbs, actually, look at that. That gives you a brilliant view of the hairpin, but it's a gradient that allows you to tap out a good rhythm.
For the first part of this climb, it's very steep and it's very difficult to get into that rhythm. But once we're on these parts of the slopes, it's quite easy just to sit down and power away. Four riders still powering at the front, chased by three riders, Dan Craven, Lou Waistra and Andre Shorto of Europcar at the front.
The one thing that's strange about this, we've commentated for so long now on the climbs, and every time it's always been, of course, the British rider Jonathan Tiernan Locke is not amongst the pace setters.
Well, you've got to remember that he's already got that lead in the Skoda King of the Mountains, and with Dan Craven in this chasing group, he is 48 seconds off the overall lead, so they have to play the overall card at the moment and try and put out all their energy into helping Dan Craven.
And of course his nearest challenger, Russell Hampton, as we mentioned earlier in commentary, is now 11 points behind him, so he will obviously be covering any moves from that Sigma Sport rider.
Well, I think John Tiernan Locke, by the last couple of days, has got the better of Russell Hampton. I think he's looking for second place at the moment. Rabobank still riding with two riders at the front of the bunch. And
sitting in third spot is the overall race leader, Lars Boom. He's such an all-round talent. 25 seconds, so it's come down a little bit.
And that's why Lars back for HTC is pushing hard at the front, putting it in a big gear and putting everybody in the hurt.
And that gap, of course, is back to the chasers, and then the peloton are a further 18 seconds further down the mountain.
Well, it's going to be difficult for these riders to stay away. Rabobank have been in control all day, same as yesterday, and with Dan Craven in here at 48 seconds, they're surely not going to let this go.
He's got the bit between his teeth here, hasn't he, Craven? And he's a danger man, and that's why Rabobank are taking closer order at the front of this peloton. And once we get to the crest of the climb, I think you will see the Rabobank team trying to pull Craven back.
Well, that's if they can. They've only got two riders left at the front of the gold jersey of Boom, as Paul Voss, the German rider from Endura Racing, push hard in the front, and McAnally just concentrating in the wheel in front.
They're working nice, and this is the right size of group to share the workload evenly.
Yeah, it's difficult for Rabobank. They do not want a Sky rider to go up the road today, because it means that if a break goes away, Sky will always help them out, and they don't want to ride in the front all day and Sky to gain any advantage when we come into Wells and hit that final climb.
So Voss, who hails from Germany, quite happy here to keep pulling the other three along as we get back to the chases. Chateau there in the Europcar green jersey, working hard. They're trying to limit the gains of the four.
Well, you can look at the bunch. They've got now 3 riders from Rabobank at the front, so another rider's come up to help out the chase. That's how important it is at the moment. But just look at the bunch. It's not really thinning out. The pressure is not really on this Rabobank team at the moment.
Well, it's going to be an interesting development, this. They're getting closer now to the top of the climb. We've got about 54 miles covered when they get to the summit, and the race situation is quite critical. We've got the 4 you're looking at, then 3 chasing, and then the main peloton with the owners on Rabobank to try and close them down.
Well, this is the easiest part of the climb. You just see the top just in the 200 metres to go, and Ben Smith still hanging on the back at the moment, with Lars back for HTC doing most of the effort.
Let's hear from Janto, who's in that red car just ahead.
Here we are at the top of Cheddar Gorge. There have been fantastic crowds, and a very fast pace has been set this morning with lots of attacks. We're just watching 4 leaders go through, so they have a gap of about 23 seconds on the main field. There are chases in between, but we're going to wait to hear what that gap is exactly and who they are. We're not sure.
Well, our leaders are now over the top of Cheddar Gorge, and our 3 chasers are Chateau, Dan Craven and Luf Westra.
With the 4 riders, I've got about 35 seconds in these 3 chasers. With the bunch, you can just see only about 10-15 seconds behind them.
Well, there's the Frenchman Chateau getting 5th on the climb.
And as you can see, we're just waiting for the minor places to be fought out at the top of this Skoda King of the Mountains climb. It's the white jerseys just sprinting at the front, coming over the top now, with 2 Sigma Sport riders just behind them.
Well, it is the minor places, but that 8th spot then for Locke, that means he picks up another 3 points, so he's gone further ahead of Russell Hampton in the King of the Mountains contest. So he looks as though he's setting his stall out to win the overall contest in that particular classification. Still a long way to go, and the question you've got to ask yourself is how much longer can this group of 4 stay clear? Don't go away. Welcome back. These are the 3 leaders in the finishing straight in Wells, and the news is that Ben Swift was dropped on the descent of Cheddar Gorge. So this is the 3rd and final sprint in the Yodel sprint competition as they come across the line, and first there is Mark McNally from Paul Voss and Lars Bach.
With this gap coming down all the time, as you can see, one of the commissaires just passed the 3 riders in front, and this gap coming down to about 25 seconds as we cross the sprint line.
And there is evidence, of course, here at the front of the squad of Rabobank, and they are now going to surely put the hammer down and try and pull those leaders back. Rick Flens then, the Dutchman on the Rabobank team, picking up the 1 point.
Well, just after the sprint line here, we go through the town of Wells, and we hit the next climb, the last first category climb of this year's Tour of Britain.
Yep, that's going to be another stern test. It's steep, and that's called Old Bristol Hill. 10 points, of course, to the first man at the top.
Well, this is going to be a big test for a lot of the GC contenders, the people that really want to win this year's Tour of Britain, because they have to try and get seconds back on Lars Boom in that gold jersey.
Well, the crowds have turned out here in Wells. It's a wonderful setting, and there is the famous cathedral, which is perhaps the most beautiful of the great English cathedrals.
With these 3 riders still in front at the moment, looking back, and they can see the front of the bunch at the moment as this gap comes down within to about 20 seconds.
In fact, there they are. They've almost limited the gains then of the 3, so as they get nearer and nearer to that final climb, it looks very much to me as though the whole peloton will have regrouped. Well,
it's still Rabobank pushing hard at the front. They want to set a good tempo on this climb. A few riders coming up the outside. Looks like Leopard Trek there, and I would think that would be Linus Gerdemann, the German rider for that team, trying to go for the overall.
And of course, Linus Gerdemann is 6th overall, and he's celebrating his 29th birthday today. So if he could move up in the overall standings, that would be a wonderful birthday present.
Well, these riders at the back are suffering at the moment. We've got a couple of the Sigma Sport riders hanging on the back, because this climb does rear up 3 kilometres, and it is pretty steep.
And it will provide possibly a perfect launching pad for a splinter group to try and go away to steal the spoils in Wells.
Well, we can see no attacking yet at the moment. They're not too worried about the three riders in front. Rabobank just trying to control the pace at the moment as we near the bottom of this climb.
And it's Larsbach still persisting here. Talented rider Larsbach, former national time trial champion of Denmark, and a man who's finished 5th in the Paris-Roubaix, so he knows how to grit his teeth.
Well, he has been the strongest of this threesome at the moment, but it's Paul Voss, the German rider from Endura Racing Team, pushing hard on the front.
I'm just waiting to see who is going to be the first to pounce once they do pull those three back. And as we look down there from our aerial shot, you can see the overall race leader, Lars Boom, about 4 back. He's never far away from the action.
And just to his right-hand side, Hugh, is the King of the Mountains leader, John Taunton, really looking for some more points in this final climb.
Well, Tiernan Lock has been the man of the match when it comes to the mountains, but at the moment, Larsbach, he's having the last say here. I've had enough of you two. You're holding me up, he said, and he's trying to get down the road.
Well, there's still a long way to go in this climb, still about 2 kilometres, and it actually kicks up all the way to the line. And Larsbach deciding that the two riders behind weren't going strong enough and striking out alone.
Well, Larsbach obviously is not going to affect the overall standings in the King of the Mountains, but if he can get to the top here and then get the big gear engaged and maybe his teammates stall the speed of the main peloton, who knows? We may get a lone stage victory.
Well, this being the last first category climb of this year's Tour of Britain, we're expecting big attacks here from the overall contenders, especially Team Sky.
So great encouragement being shown from the roadside here for Larsbach, who's now carved out an advantage of 22 seconds over the chasers.
Well, he's a big strong lad, not the best of climbers in the HTC team, but he's given it a good go today.
And as I mentioned just a little bit earlier in commentary, he's a former national time trial champion of his country, so once he's out on his own, he can use the right gear and find the right rhythm to keep the gap.
You can just see the Irish champion of Matt Bramley on the left-hand side. He's already been on an attack today, but it just goes to show you that the bunch still riding good tempo at the moment, and the first attacks are still yet to come.
And back, well, on his own here, comfy with this position, but 1 or 2 riders have started to lose contact at the back of the peloton. The last time we saw it, it was beginning to thin down a little bit, so this could be one of the vital positions on the stage where the overall leader may just increase his advantage.
Well, it's still a bit of a bunching up at the moment at the front. Nobody really going on the attack. It needs somebody to really dislodge the Lars Boom in this gold jersey, and nobody's really striking out this early in the climb.
Bramier is still tucked in the final position. Not the best of positions to be. It's like chasing a shadow there as they swing round the lefts and rights, but back persists.
Well, he's been off the front all day, pushing hard, and again, nobody really going on the attack, and as we just speak, somebody launches one now.
So the field beginning to just break up a little bit now, fracturing due to the impetus of the pressure being applied as riders try to go away to pick up valuable points at the summit of the climb. Anxious look back there from back, just wondering who is going to join him.
Well, it looks as if he's just hanging on at the moment. As you can see, not really built for flying up these climbs as young Tiernan Lock, but the attacks have started, so we're expecting big things now.
And it looks like Leopard Trek right on the sharp end of the peloton. Also Vacon Soleil are present, and I think that's the white jersey down there actually of the leader of the King of the Mountains, Tiernan Lock.
Well, Larsbach's legs must be really burning at this moment in time. It gets really steep the further we get up this climb, and you can just see him suffering at the moment.
It's measuring your effort, isn't it? And when you're on a 3-mile ascent, well, and it's strange to him because he's never raced here before. He will have looked at the race manual, but it's all about timing your effort and, well, trying to be a little bit economical with the effort you're putting in.
Yeah, we're starting to see the riders struggle at the back, and it just goes to show you that it's not all about going on the attack. These guys are hanging on for dear life at the back of the bunch.
It's thinning down there, Brian, so this could be one of the days when the overall classification gets rejigged, and right at the end of the stage, back once again out of the saddle and pumping away, trying to find a little bit more speed.
Well, we're now starting to see the field thinning out at the moment. You can just see gaps appearing all over the place as we get further up this climb.
He really is laboured, and he looks back to see who is going to come up to join him. Well, it looks like a white and blue jersey, one of the team of Neta.
Well, you can just see in the background the Team Sky rider just beginning to go on the attack. It looks to me as if it's Steve Cummings, so the fight has just started.
I think it is Steve Cummings, and look, Lars Boom, He's watching these moves. Nobody can get clear. He's not going to allow them to give him the slip. And that is actually Koenig of Team NetApp, and he's 12th overall. He's only 19 seconds behind the overall leader, and that is why Last Boom is keeping a very close eye on this. And look at Tiernan Lock coming through for 3rd place. King of the Mountains fancies a few more points.
Yeah, and just behind him is Linus Gerdeman. As we get up closer to the top of this climb, great crowds and fantastic racing still to come.
Well, King of the Mountains now coming through. 3rd spot at the moment. He's right into the wheel of Steve Cummings, and it looks as though he's gathering himself another pounce. Watch this, he jumps clear and makes a hole in the field. He's very, very talented at doing this. So here he goes, and he's another danger man because he's only 19 seconds behind the overall leader.
Well, he's riding absolutely unbelievable. I can't say so much about this man, John Tiernan Lock, in the Skoda King of the Mountains jersey. He's just ridden away from 2 or 3 of the best riders in the world.
So there he is, Locke coming over the top of the climb to get the maximum points. Koenig is with him, and we can expect a reaction from the overall leader because that is a brace of danger men ahead. Let's hear again from Yanto in the race control car.
It's Tiernan Lock from Rafa who has gone over the climb in 1st place, which is absolutely lined with people. Great atmosphere here. The helicopter is close, and it's adding to the intoxicating effect of a very, very atmospheric stage here in Wales. We are seeing good weather, and it's a fantastic stage. They are travelling at about 27.5 miles an hour average speed for this stage, but currently all still together.
And there they are coming over the top, and I tell you what, this hill has certainly caused some damage. The riders are literally clinging to the wheels, and the bunch is fragmented. And here is the result, and there's no sign of Russell Hampton, the nearest challenger to Tiernan Lock.
Well, the bunch is all strung out at the moment over the top of this climb, and it's fast racing all the way back into Wales.
Well, we're into the closing kilometres now of this run down into Wales, and there's still a lot to play for. We'll be back. Welcome back, and the 2 leaders looking back. Their job is done, and the good news here is then for Jonathan Tiernan Lock, he has won the Skoda King of the Mountains outright on this year's Tour of Britain. His lead is 23 points, and with only 3 gentle 3rd category climbs tomorrow, he cannot be beaten. So he becomes the 3rd British rider in the history of the Tour to win that crown. The other 2, Julian Wynne and Ben Swift. But immediately, Sky are on the attack.
Well, it was Steve Cummings of Team Sky going to the front because he realises there's a big split in the peloton at the moment. The gap looking to be about 15-20 seconds.
If you look down the road, you can see that the bunch are split into several groups, but the man that hasn't missed the move is the overall race leader, Last Boom. He's 2nd wheel.
Well, it's NetApp leading away at the moment. 2nd place, you've got Lars Boom, the race leader. So there must be some people in this chasing group that have missed out. And it's Geraint Thomas, the rider in the blue jersey, who's sitting 2nd place in overall. And
he started the day just 12 seconds behind Lars Boom, the overall race leader. But there we are, the telltale signs of the crash from earlier on, which Geraint Thomas is carrying. Now then, do you think that's affecting him?
Of course it's affected him. You know, a bad crash like that does affect your physical performance. He's been up there all week, and all of a sudden he's just lost all the strength.
It looks as though he's sitting up, and also Tur Hushoff, the world champion, is in this group. Mark Cavendish as well. And I tell you what, the urgency is going out of the delivery here of these riders, and that means that that front group are going to pull further away.
Well, it was HTC High Road, it was chasing this front group, but they decided enough's enough, and this front group is going to contest the finish.
There are a lot of riders here are going to lose their positions overall. 45 seconds is the gap, and we've already lost Ian Bibby because of the crash earlier on. Remember, he'd started the day 7th overall, and now Geraint Thomas, who was 2nd, so that's 2. So riders ahead of them are going to move up.
Well, that's why we're seeing a lot of these riders riding hard at the front. You just caught a glimpse of the rider from Garmin Cervelo, and that's Dan Lloyd, because he could be moving up into the top 3.
The composition of this group is 21 strong, and there are several here that are only a handful of seconds behind the overall leader. So there's everything to gain.
Well, it's Gabriel Rasch at the front as he looks around. Linus Gerdeman comes through for Leopard Trek. Jack Bauer in 3rd place. So it's all to play for as these riders start pushing out this advantage.
Dan Lloyd's in this group, and he's only 16 seconds behind the overall leader. So Lloyd has got a chance of moving up into the top 3.
And that's why the riders from Garmin-Savella are pushing hard at the front of this bunch. Just at the back there, 2 Sky riders of Cummings and Rogers.
And as we're nearing the closing stages then of this intriguing leg, the man that's never missed a move is Lars Boom, who's wearing that IG Markets gold jersey. He has been the man of the race, and what a sporting gesture. He took control of the contest when the crash occurred, when he stopped everybody racing, let them regroup, and then of course once again the action resumed.
Well, this 21-man group is pushing hard at the front. Some of these riders thinking of the overall, but there's a lot of other riders thinking of the stage win.
Well, there's a valuable 10 seconds on the line to the winner, 6 for second and 4 for third. And let's not forget that Lars Boom is a good sprinter. He won the stage in Hanley in Stoke. Well, if he could nail the 10 seconds here, he will have had a very good day, because he picked up 3 seconds at Langport, the first Yodel sprint of the day.
Well, Lars Boom just coming through to the front at the moment. He's on his own. You can't see any more orange jerseys further down this group, so he has to try and cover everything. And it's going to be very difficult for him, because I expect we get into the 2-3 kilometres to go, we're going to see attacks, and that's going to be good for the likes of the other riders, because you don't want Lars Boom winning this stage and taking a further 10 seconds.
Well, Locke is there, the king of the mountains, and also his nearest challenger, Russell Hampton of Sigma Sports, so he's read the move well.
And just at the back here for Enduro Racing, Jack Bauer, a recent stage winner of the Tour of Utah.
And Jack Bauer, of course, is a former national champion of New Zealand. Now there's an attack here going off the front of the group. It's very hard, actually, to distance yourself from a fast-moving group by just trying to ride away, but I tell you what, this is one of the Enduro riders.
And it's Iker Camano, the Spanish rider in the outfit, but just look at the front of the group, and it's Lars Boom, and he's not really wanting to chase him down.
Well, he did look across, to be fair, Brian, because the Spanish rider is 16th overall at 37 seconds. Now, if he could distance himself here and pick up the 10-second bonus, he could start to become a serious threat to the Dutchman.
Well, he's pushing hard in the front. He's got about 5-10 seconds at the moment, but pretty sure there's a lot of people still thinking we want to chase him down, but he's a big, strong rider. Finished first in the Centurion Tour of Mallorca earlier on in the year, and a strong rider, but it's Linus Gerdeman from Leopard riding hard on the front.
And Gerdeman is currently lying 6th in the race at 18 seconds, so he will not want this man to get away.
No, nobody wants this man to get away, because as you said, he is a threat to the overall. Everybody looking at Lars Boom in the leader's jersey, but he's got no teammates to help him out, so I don't think he's going to chase him down alone.
But he's putting the rest of the sword, and it is a brave, valiant effort here. How much longer can he stay clear? It's pegged, isn't it, at about 200 metres?
Yeah, it's not a lock. It's still long, straight roads at the moment, so he's not out of sight, and very difficult for everybody. But just look at, somebody must be chasing, because they're all strung out.
But it's testimony to his determination and courage, and this is exactly the kind of move that could win the stage.
Yeah, someone else trying to make a move, and we're getting close to about 2 kilometres to go. Iker Camano head down, pushing hard at the front, thinking of that stage at the moment.
The trouble is, with a group of this size, they're all in a bullish mood, because they know they've shook off 1 or 2 of the serious contenders, and they're putting their markers down now for their final positions in the race.
Well, it's going to be very difficult. Everybody looking round knows Lars Booms is the leader, and they don't want him to really take another 10 seconds, so I'm pretty sure we're going to see some more attacking.
But it's a hugely impressive effort here, isn't it? There's the 2 kilometre sign to go. Now then, what has he got left in those legs?
Well, he's still got a slender advantage, and he's really trying hard at the moment, as you would, trying to win this stage today.
Well, he's certainly pouring on the coals, and he's giving it absolutely everything. But Lars Boom will be conscious of the fact that this man can make a dent into his overall advantage.
Well, it's all over the road at the moment, and a lot of riders just looking around, really wanting the gold jersey to come to the front, and it's actually Leopard Trek rider of Linus Gerdeman trying to push ahead, but just in front you can just see the Flamme Rouge.
I think we can definitely say there's not going to be any charitable handouts here, so if he does nail the stage, it will be well deserved.
Well, he's riding this out his skin at the moment, and you can just see him in the hooks of the bars. Linus Gerdeman at the front, looking back, wanting some help, some attacking starting to happen in the left-hand side.
So we're nearing the final kilometre here then of this contest. How much longer is he going to dangle out in front? He just took the cursory glance over the left shoulder.
Yeah, and he's still got about 5 seconds at the moment. You can just see the Flamme Rouge up above the bridge at the moment. He's only got 1 kilometre of suffering to do.
So near and yet so far. Crouching down, as you said, over the bars, gritting his teeth, and the pain is written all over his face. There we are, another lone attack as one rider tries to jump clear.
Yeah, on the right hand side it's all strung out, and I think this attack is going to come close to Iker Kamano. You just see him just in the distance at the moment, so this gap coming right down as we're inside the last 600 metres.
So Kamano dangling just off the front, and it looks very much to me as though he's going to get swept up almost within sight of the finish. That looks like one of the riders from Sky on the left.
It's actually Steve Cummings that's pushed that back, and I can't understand why he's pushed it back, because he's put Lars Boom in with a great chance of gaining these 10 seconds in the finishing line.
So Lars Boom just sitting in third position now as they sweep into the finishing funnel. Oh, look at the crash! Well, he ran straight into the barriers there, and the man that's profited from it is Lars Boom. Here he comes, Boom. This is his second stage victory. Thank you very much. Another 10-second bonus, and that means I've gone further ahead of my nearest challengers.
Well, I think just tiredness came into play there as we see them going round the corner. Too fast, Gabriel Rasch, a Norwegian rider, just going in too fast. You've got to remember, we've been around this corner before. Looks like Charteau just hits him as well, but what a win by Lars Boom in the gold jersey.
Boom, he got the line right, and of course here comes the next group, and they've lost time. I tell you what, they're about 1 minute and 20 seconds back, and Geraint Thomas, remember, is in this bunch, so he will go down on the overall classification. So it has been a telling day, and the top 6 are going to be rejigged as the peloton pedal their way up to the finishing line here in Wells.
Well, it's Matt Heyman that brings the bunch across. They've lost some time today, and although this race still got 3 stages to come with 2 days, it's not over yet, but it's going to be hard to topple Lars Boom.
Let's take another look here at the sprint. Look at the rider overcooking it straight into the barrier, but Boom, look at that, it gave him about a 15-metre advantage, and you can't catch the Flying Dutchman when you give him that chance.
And everybody from here was only going for second place. Lars Boom gaining another 10 seconds bonus.
So another emphatic victory by the Flying Dutchman. 2 stage wins he's had in this, and he's increased his lead further in this Tour of Britain with 2 days to go.
That's how you win a group sprint, and that, you would probably venture, is how you win the Tour of Britain. Lars Boom's second stage win, leaving all comers trailing in his wake. Big name absentees in the top 10 across the line. No Mark Cavendish and no Geraint Thomas, who came in 25th place at 1 minute 24 seconds. Good ride by Alexandre Pichot of Europcar. Steve Cummings defending Team Sky's honour in 5th, with Jack Bauer out-sprinting Julian Dean for Endura. Lars Boom, though, the first man across the line and the first man up on the podium in Wells. Peter Gilbert maintains his tall, long grip on the Yodel Sprints jersey. Another brilliant ride by Jonathan Tiernan-Locke sees him sew up the Skoda King of the Mountains competition. He's a clear, unassailable 23 points ahead of Russell Hampton. Lars Boom takes over in the prostate cancer charity points competition after Geraint Thomas missed the split. And of course, he extends his lead in the overall competition to 28 seconds. The IG Markets gold jersey almost his for keeps. The man in second in the overall classification is Leopold Koenig from NetApp, with Dan Lloyd just a second behind him in third place. John Tiernan-Locke moves into the top 10, but Geraint Thomas is now in 12th place at 1 minute 49 seconds, and Mark Cavendish too lost time today. He's in 16th at 2 minutes 11.
I think a fantastic ride of the team. Rick Flens, Koen van Melvoort, Michael Matthews and Bram Tankink, they were great. They supported me all day until the last climb. They rode so hard, so I have to thank them. And I'm lucky that I had really good legs today, and maybe I win this the Tour over here, maybe. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to go out on a limb, perhaps not the boldest call of the entire Tour of Britain, and suggest that Lars Boom has just sewn the race up. Now, Matt Rendell has joined Janto Barker alongside us to unpick that. Matt, am I wrong, Lars Boom?
Yeah, I think he's a safe pair of hands. He's clearly come here to win this race. He's gone about it in the right way, got off, won an intermediate sprint early on. He's getting it all right, isn't he?
He is indeed, and as much as he got it right, Geraint Thomas was unfortunate, wasn't he, Janto?
Yeah, very unfortunate. I was in a position to see the crash actually, and it looked like Bibby is looking over his shoulder at the position he's in, and then he's just about ready to come back on the wheel as Geraint is ready to pull out. Looks like Geraint's foot goes through Ian Bibby's front wheel, and then they go unfortunately over the handlebars, with Bibby coming off worst and fracturing what looks like his collarbone.
Matt, anyone who might consider that Geraint Thomas can take a lot of time back on Lars Boom in the time trial in London is Cloud Cuckooland?
Yes, I think so. I mean, Geraint could win, perhaps, but I mean, Lars Bohm does that sort of thing. We know him most of all for winning the prologue at Paris-Nice last year. He delights in those short time trials. He's a big, powerful man. I can't see him losing much, if anything.
Yes, indeed. All right, thanks to both of you. Well, tomorrow it is Pan Flat as we head from Bury St Edmunds to a royal finish in Sandringham. It looks, for all the world, like it might suit Mark Cavendish. See you tomorrow.